Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Big Fourth Down podcast here on the Josh YouTube channel, where we talk all things NFL. And I put it together a very special episode where there's lots to talk about in so many different ways. Rather than we'll also be talking about your regular games that are coming up this weekend and the games that took place last weekend. And of course, I've got Freddy with me. It's 2 days until Christmas. We're sat here on the first. I've got work in about 5 hours, and I'll go talk NFL. What is it there, Freddy?
Hello. Happy Christmas to those 2 people who ever bothered to watch this. I'm looking forward to whatever I'm going to get thrown at in terms of questions today. Apparently, I'm also as much in the dark as you guys as to what Josh has come up with. So it'd be interesting to see what manner of all sorts of mischief he gets up to. The only thing I do know for certain is that the Ravens are going to get hammered this week.
Well, we'll come on to that, but what we were actually going to start off with was, I believe this came out yesterday. We're going to have a wee look at the Pro Bowl rosters that have been officially announced. So I want to hear your opinion on this. So let's start off with
the Pro Bowl is a complete and utter waste of time.
It is a waste of time, but
who cares who's on the Pro Bowl rosters?
To be fair, it's a week of football. We still want to watch it. It gives time. It also means we can talk about certain players more than the actual Pro Bowl roster. But first of all, I will ask you. Yeah, he should not be there, should he? Lamar Jackson after this season.
Realistically, it should be Josh Allen, or maybe Joe Burrow, but no, Lamar probably should.
I don't know how to watch it. I know Lamar Jackson's had some very clutch moments, but before he did whatever he's done to his ankle, yeah, he's not been that special, to be perfectly honest. I definitely think yes, Devin Cook is out this coming week with COVID. Yes, we will be getting onto the COVID issues. There's loads of COVID issues to talk about with all the things. Regarding Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, I don't think anybody can have any debate about those two. Fantastic. Well, Mahomes is starting to hit his best form, and Justin Herbert has been incredible once again this year. Adverts. Right. What about running back? Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, and Joe Mixon.
There is an obvious person who's missing from that.
Stephon Freeman.
Austin Eckler should be there. I don't think Joe Mixon probably should. You can't argue against JT or Chubb. So, but I would chuck Austin Eckler there as well.
Herbert has been under talked. I don't think he's MVP level, but he's been incredible. He definitely doesn't look like a rookie. Taylor carried the Colts, yeah. Carson Wentz has had a very up and down season. Any here, Tarek Hill, obviously one of your favorite players, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen on there.
I don't think Jamar Chase honestly deserves it. The last few weeks he's been a bit, I don't know, irrelevant. He's been fantastic. He was amazing the first few weeks, but the last few have just not seen that much for him. Keenan Allen shouldn't be there either because Deontay Johnson had better stats than him, but I'm just being a homer. But it's true, Deontay Johnson has done better than Keenan Allen this year. He's just gone under the radar. But you can't really argue with any of those.
I'm sorry. You can't argue tight ends. No, Mark Andrews, Trevor Kelsey. Offensive, I have to say, I don't think O'Loughlin Brown should be there for Kansas City. No. I think compared to how he did at the Ravens, he's been shot up for himself. Surprise, there is no Raven offensive lineman there. If we're talking about Pro Bowl roster for the worst O-line, I think the Ravens would be in there. I'll be perfectly honest. I actually don't know much about offensive lines and guards and stuff. I know the standout players, but I don't really follow offensive and defensive lines that much. Is anybody here who you would? If you follow it more, I don't. To be honest, I don't know much about offensive and defensive.
He probably shouldn't be in, but Creed Humphrey, the Chiefs rookie center, probably should be in instead of Ryan Kelly. I would argue. Other than that, No, I think all are fairly fair. Rashawn Slater's been an absolute beast in tackle this year.
Everyone on the defensive line to first. And Connor, if you're free, I want to come on the stream. Like, you're more than free. I said I literally just sat down for the first time since 5 o'clock this morning. I've had no chance to even ask anyone else that's other than Freddy himself. Patrick Richard of Baltimore, the only team that really uses a fullback. So, but he's an absolute beast. 305 pounds. He can literally play on so many different sides on each side of the ball. Fuck, he's incredible. I don't think there's no point debating that. Miles Garrett, Matt Crosby. I don't think there could be any issue about that. Curtis Jones. I think Chris Jones, has not been fantastic this year. I think he plays more on the edge now than what he originally did, but he's there. What about TJ Watt? Do you agree with that?
Obviously, he should be Defensive Player of the Year by a distance.
Matt, you don't do agree with that? He's a massive loss for the Ravens. Massive loss for Ravens on the edge.
Made that Patriots. It's completely transformed that Patriots defense. They're the best in the league currently, but
quarterback JC Jackson, Action Hart, Daniel Ward, Kenny Moore. But Marlon Humphrey's had a terrible. Even before he did his knees, he was not been that good this year. Marlon Humphrey's been underwhelming for most parts of the season. Didn't really step up Mark Peters' absence. I have no issue with any corners there, particularly. I mean, nothing that stands out to me in the AFC.
Yeah, all agree with that.
Kenneth Bohr, strong safety, hard beauty. Both of all the same thing would be broke. Like that would be absolutely broke. Strong safety, no issues. And then on the special teams, who cares about long snapper? Like, who cares about a long snapper?
You abusing long snappers?
Yeah, they get paid so much money for doing one simple. They don't even have to block.
I think it's quite an important role, to be honest. But you keep snagging them off.
Long Raiders punter. You're a punting expert. Do you agree with the AFC?
Yeah, good choice.
Justin, I don't think anybody could have Justin Tucker, anyone other than Justin Tucker this year.
That's possible.
No, it's 67-yard field goal, breaking the NFL record. I know he hasn't kicked as many field goal win goals this year.
You're wrong. Chris Boswell.
And then Devin Duvernay, I'm going to be biased. I do agree with that. And special teamer, okay, I don't really know what that is. Right, so that's the AFC done. We'll move on. We'll look at the NFC very quickly. So I'm just doing this as a wee starter. I don't really care about the Pro Bowl. I've actually never watched a Pro Bowl game in my life because they don't even do kickoffs or like proper tackles or anything, do they? It's
very touch the guy and that counts as a tackle type thing. I watch a quarter every year, but I never watch any more than that.
So quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Kyler Murray. Any disagreements there?
Nope.
Running backs?
Again, nope. Fair enough. Nice to see James Conner in the Pro Bowl.
See James Conner. Do you think it was a mistake letting him go?
No. You think he'd have been any better under our offensive line? No chance. Najee's a better running back than James Conner, talent-wise. He's just behind an O-line that is absolutely tragic. So, no, I don't have regrets. I think it was the right call on both.
No issue here. I have to say, look, I've seen people say Cooper Kupp for MVP. I
wouldn't argue it. It would be nice to see somebody who's not a quarterback actually win the MVP. I think he's more likely to win the Offensive Player of the Year award than MVP.
I do agree. Kyle Pitts for the Atlanta Falcons. He's done very well this year. A player that I like. I don't know if he's Pro Bowl level. But I think he's done well.
He's got better. He's not been amazing, but he's got better. But okay.
Zach Martin has done well. Jason Kelsey at center. He's reliable. What else is there? Cal's usually, I guess the 49ers do use their fullback quite a bit, to be fair, as well. As well as Baltimore Frey. I think having Nick Bosa, Cameron Jones, Aaron Donald's obviously there. Yeah, there's no one here. What about Chandler Jones on the outside linebacker? He started off well. But he fell off.
He had that 5-sack game at the start of the season and then done not a lot since. Micah Parsons has been absolutely outstanding. He's a shout for. He will win defensive rookie of the year, but he could also win the defensive player of the year as well.
Do you disagree? Do you disagree with the punter for the NFC? No, Michael Dixon.
I do disagree. It should be Michael Dixon's been the best punter in the NFC.
What about Matt Gay?
That's fine.
That's fine. All right. So that brings the end to that. I said I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. I said the Pro Bowl's not really. Yeah, it's not really that exciting. So, let's start off by just touching briefly on the weekend, the games that took place at the weekend there. So we'll all talk too much about it because there wasn't many games that kind of blew my mind anyway. We'll start off with your Pittsburgh game. A win, playoffs, maybe just slightly still there. Happy with the win. Do you think that the Steelers could push into a wild card spot?
Well, the AFC North is so close that somebody's got to win our division, and we're in the hunt. Why not? I don't think the Browns will win it. And I hear people. There was somebody today who was saying that he thinks that the Browns would have been the best team if everyone was healthy, which is absolute nonsense. The best team in our division, if everyone was healthy, is the Ravens by a distance. The Steelers have had their injuries. The Ravens have had their injuries. And yet people still moan about how the Browns would be so much better if they're healthy. No, go away. They're not. So there's that. Well, I don't see us winning this week, frankly. In Kansas City, even if Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill are not back, they'll just run the ball on us because every other team can, and they've still got Patrick Mahomes. So I don't see us winning this week. You never know. It was a pretty ugly game last week against the Titans, but we came away with the win, and we're still in the hunt. So all to play for.
That's all anyway. Pittsburgh know how to play ugly games. Without offensive line, Big Ben, and one of the most inconsistent defenses. Maybe one of the most overrated defenses in the NFL. You guys have to win ugly. Don't really have much talent to win any other way. The Colts and the Patriots. A game that I watched this game fully back the next day, and I just find everything so intriguing about how the Colts went about this game, how well they played on both sides of the ball. I said we said it last night. We actually think Belichick actually got a better taste of his own medicine and kind of got outplayed a wee bit. How far could this Colts team really go? They struggle to see games out comfortably. They obviously got away with it against the Patriots. They were good enough to go over the line. Previous times, such as Baltimore, they couldn't really, they kind of choked it big time and let Lamar Jackson have his best game in his NFL career. If the Colts could start seeing games out, they're a team that you really, really would not fancy come up against.
I agree. The Colts are a good team, as I say on another show. Shout out to Munzie. The Colts are a playoff sort of team. They can run the ball well, and they've got a good defense, and that's what you need to get deep in the playoffs. I don't agree with the comment there saying that the Colts will miss the playoffs. I think they'll be fine. They'll win this week against the Cardinals because the Cardinals are in free fall, and their remaining schedule after that is okay. They've got the Raiders and then the Jags. So I expect them to win out, and I expect them to be in the playoffs. It'll be that one. There'll be that team in the playoffs that nobody will want to face. But whether they actually go into the playoffs and win any games is another thing to be seen. They can't seem to play really well for 4 quarters. They seem to play well for 3 and then fade away in the 4th. They seem to be the opposite the Steelers, who play badly for 3 quarters and then turn up in the 4th.
So obviously other things, obviously the Bills beat the Panthers. The Panthers were shockingly bad, along with Cam Newton deciding he forgot how to throw a ball. I don't know if you remember, there was a certain time he tried to do a quick throw. Out wide, and he completely misthrew it. Like he threw it, I think it was like a good 5 yards to the right of the receiver he's trying to throw it to. Like he's done. Like, he can't throw the ball anymore. Did you find the Jags and the Texans exciting? David Culley getting another win with the Texans. It was a dreadful game of football to watch, but David Mills got another win somehow.
The MVP for the Jags was the supporter in the end zone. He managed to finally guide them in there. No, the Jags are awful. I thought this would be the game where they'd bounce back without Urban Meyer and actually go and get a win, but no, they were just terrible. Credit to the Texans. They came in there and did a job on them. I thought that Texans team was an 0-17 team and they're going to win 3 or 4 games. So credit to them.
Freddy with no masterclass against the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, this was a painful game for the Giants. They lost Mike Lennon. They had to bring a guy called Jake Fromm, who I've never heard of in my life. I don't know if some people be saying, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, they're starting to fade away. They haven't been playing as well recently. You agree the Cowboys are slipping away a wee bit, or do you think they are where you think they were going to be?
Yeah, they are what I think they are. They're by a mile the best team in the NFC East. But when it comes to playoff time, I'm not sure they've got what it takes to win big time in the playoffs. They do have some very good players on the defense. We've talked about Micah Parsons already, Randy Gregory. There's a couple of others as well. I don't recommend Diggs. I think people need to shush about him because he has a load of interceptions, but he gives up big plays every single week. So I'm not a big fan of him. But the Cowboys are they're the team that I thought they would be this year. They've won about the number of games I thought they would. They've eased the NFC East as they should have done. I don't know. I'm not sold on them, and I'm not sold on Mike McCarthy. They're a good team. Are they a great one? I don't think so. As for the Giants, they're a mess. They need to play Jake Fromm for the rest of the year. See what they've got with him. Don't play Mike Glennon anymore because we all know he's useless. At least play Fromm because you may as well see what you've got with him. Even if he is playing under the worst defensive coordinator in the league.
Wow, disrespect to Freddie Kitchens. Wow. Dolphins beating the Jets 31-24. Jets put up a good fight, to be fair. Actually, it was quite an exciting game, but I think the Dolphins deserve to win, obviously. We'll get on to the Jets a bit later. Obviously, they have some issues at the moment. Obviously, the 49ers beating the Falcons 31-30. What have you made of the 49ers this year? They're 8-6. Obviously, Jimmy McGraw has played for the most part of the season. What do you think the 49ers could do? Obviously, they won't win the division, but they could get a wild card spot. Do you think they are a team that would be scary in the playoffs, or do you think they're just too inconsistent?
They're another one of these teams that are pretty good, but I'm not totally sold on them. Jimmy G's a very solid quarterback, but when you need him deep in the playoffs to get out there and get you the win, is he going to do it? I'm not sure. They need their guys healthy. I know Elijah Mitchell isn't playing tonight against the Titans. They're going to miss him, but they've got Deebo Samuel and they've got George Kittle. So yeah, they've got plenty of good players and they've got a good defense. So there's no reason why they can't be a threat in the playoffs. I think they are going to be a wild card team purely because there's not a lot of talent in the NFC below the top 4 or 5 teams. They could cause a couple of upsets in the NFC, particularly if they end up playing the Cowboys because the Cowboys are not the first round playoff exit. So no, I like the Niners. Are they going to be in the Super Bowl? No, I don't think so.
So let's talk about some more exciting games. Chargers and Chiefs. Do you think the Chargers win this game if they don't go for the 4th down conversions?
No, it's all ifs, buts, and maybes. No, I like what they did. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This time it didn't pay off. Credit to the Chiefs. They got the job done, and Patrick Mahomes was outstanding. And they deserve to win the game on the balance of it. So. No, you can't have any complaints with that result.
And then so this is the one that obviously this was the big one. The Lions not only just beating the Cardinals, but playing the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals. I don't know. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I think the Cardinals had very little time on offense in the first half. I think the Lions dominated the offense. It was just a perfect game plan on both sides of the ball, which really surprised me because I don't get me wrong. I think the Lions have been a decent team this year. Well, I say decent for a team that's only won 2 games and drew one, but they're a team that they don't have a lot of a really talented roster, but they stick together. They play their other best, and Campbell he's done some. I remember when they went to the LA Rams, they scored a touchdown in their first drive, and then he went for an onside kick, and did the same against the Cardinals. He plays aggressive. He works it. He plays aggressively. He does an aggressive job. I do like him a lot. But I wonder how far this Lions team could go. In the off season. What did you think of it? I know, like I said, you spoke about Kingsbury last night a wee bit. There's no way, Kingsbury bottles. I wouldn't say that the bottles the division. I don't think they're bottling the division as such, but there's no way that he bottles, such a good team that's been playing decently this season.
Yeah. The Cardinals are just a team that I like without being outstanding. I don't think they win this division. I think the Rams end up winning this division. Because I just think the Cardinals are fading. They're missing DeAndre Hopkins badly. But then you can't say if he was in the game, would they have beaten the Lions? No, they wouldn't, because the Lions came in with a massive game plan and completely shut out kept the Cardinals quiet for ages. So credit to the Lions. They came in with a game plan. They have a lot less talent on their roster than pretty much anyone else in the league, and they've managed to win a couple of good games. That's the best performance I've seen from the Lions in quite a few years, probably pre-Patricia era. So it was an outstanding performance from a team that just hasn't got a lot of talent on it. Jared Goff was outstanding. So credit to him. And yeah, fair play to them. I'm not sure how many more games they'll win this season. I'm just having a quick little look at their schedule. They're away in Atlanta. They could win that. Then they're away in Seattle. Again, a game they could win. And then they've got the Packers. So it's not easy to games, but there's opportunities to win another one if they want to.
Obviously, the Cincinnati Bengals bet Denver 15-10, but not really an exciting game. Not one that I will personally remember looking back on this NFL season. I think when Drew Lock came in for Denver, they were pretty much fucked. From that point, Drew Lock is pretty shit. The Ravens losing to the Green Bay Packers 30-31. Tyler Huntley basically kept up with Aaron Rodgers, statistically just as good as Aaron Rodgers, just minus a few touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers did try and throw the ball more, but in terms of additional yards, they were much similar. Obviously, it's like the AJFU 2-point conversion to win it. Harbaugh decided pretty much early on in the fourth quarter. He spoke to Tyler Huntley, and they all agreed as a collective that if they got that touchdown, they were going for it. I think there could be. I think, kind of thinking back at it more, I think it's a reasonable decision because, number one, Aaron Rodgers still had 40 seconds and a timeout to go up and get a touchdown or get into field goal position. Number two, even if the Ravens won the coin toss, they weren't guaranteed to go up and get a touchdown, meaning that Aaron Rodgers would have had the ball anyway. And three, if they lost the coin toss, Aaron Rodgers would have got the ball. And as we've seen all game, the corners of the Ravens, unsurprisingly, given there was 2 practice squads guys and pretty much like a 5th-string guy, were all quite shit. So the 2-point conversion, realistically, was the right idea, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the Ravens secondary and see how they were marking Devontae Adams, they basically had every single guy on Devontae Adams and just left the other receivers out. So MVS was open. A couple of other guys were as well. They didn't worry so much about them. They just wanted to make sure that Devontae Adams was shut down, which worked for him. But the rest of the team were wide open, and you don't do that against Aaron Rodgers. You had to go for it. Ravens are so depleted in their secondary, as you say, that I think it was the right call. Again, I don't like the play call.
The play call. Greg Roman's blaming the offense that the offense aren't executing properly. But why do you do the same play call the second time in a row? If they aren't executing it properly, you don't try it again.
No, that's the definition of insanity. If something doesn't work a few times, don't keep going because it won't work. But as I mentioned yesterday, there was a gap. There was a gap in that defense. If Huntley wanted to cut inside, there was space there that he could have scored, but he tried to force a ball to Andrews that wasn't on, and
well, I think Huntley's inexperience there showed because he's not one of those who can tear up the play in the middle of it. He's trying to follow that play to the book, isn't he? Because he's probably scared of Hopper or say, "Why are you not following the play?" or something. It's probably one of those things where he's just following. He's following everything to a T. You can understand why, because he's falling in big shoes. And I said we will briefly. We're all going to start talking about next week games, but also it is looking ever more likely that he's also going to be the starter against Cincinnati. Lamar Jackson not practicing again today. So the last couple of games, obviously the main one of all of these things that I'm looking at, the Saints 9, the Bucs 0. Tom Brady shutout first time since 2006. Incredible, an incredible game if you like defense. If you like offense, and I'm sure no one will be remembering this game or watching it back. Do you think Brady just struggled against a really good Saints defense, or was the lack of playmakers on the Bucs side of things just a bit too much for Tom Brady to even overcome?
A little bit of both. I mean, he's always struggled against the Saints defense, so that is clearly a big factor. But losing Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, both in the second quarter, that was a big blow. He's missed not having AB. He'll AB coming back will be massively welcome for him. But Godwin out for the year is a cruel blow. I still don't want to write this Bucs team off though, because we all know what Brady can do in the playoffs, and we know that the games against the Saints he's struggled in anyway. So I think this is probably a one-off. They're going to win this division because they've got 2 games against the Panthers and the Jets left, so they'll win out. That's there's no doubt about it. It's just interesting to see which seed they'll be in the playoffs, and whether teams have to go through Tampa or not. I don't think they will. Now they lost the game to the Saints, but they're going to be a threat for whoever they play in the playoffs. And we saw what happened at Lambeau Field last year, where the Bucs went into Green Bay and beat them. So yeah, don't write this team off. It was just a bad week at the office.
The Browns 14, the Raiders 16. Nick Mullins unable to fulfill the Browns. I didn't watch this game. I believe you did. So I didn't watch it. I haven't seen any highlights of it. I didn't bother with it because the Browns are not really irrelevant in the division, and the Raiders are just shit. Does they say the Raiders are that bad that they only bet a very depleted Browns team by 2 points? Or were the Browns, or the fact that Nick Mullins didn't even throw an interception for a guy who's generally just awful? I don't think. Did you waste your time watching this game?
I did waste my time watching this game. It was pretty awful, really. The Browns were not very good. Nick Chubb didn't really come alive into this game until the second half. He did barely anything in the first. But the Raiders, no, they're really, really bad. They're really bad. They didn't really deserve to win this game at all, let alone just by 2 points. They had to rely on Daniel Carlson to bail them out. But no, this team's just dreadful. They're not going to make the playoffs. I don't think either team will make the playoffs. Cleveland have still got a chance, but they're going to have to win out, and that involves winning in Green Bay this week. So we shall see on that front. But I think we're all Packers fans this weekend.
Bears, Vikings, Matt Nagy's Bears on prime time. I think we should make a petition to make sure this never happens again.
Oh, yeah, awful.
Do you think there's no way Matt Nagy's the coach next season? There's no way. Surely he's gone. He's gone. I find it funny, when I see it on Twitter that Matt Nagy is going to be the special teams offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, where they can barely do his head coaching job properly. The guy's just he's robbing a living. He's generally robbing a living as a head coach at the Bears.
I think that might be a bit harsh, but yeah, he's clearly not the guy there. He'll be out in the office. There's no way he lasts another season. The Bears are just traditionally don't fire coaches mid-season, but he's gone at the end of the year, 100%.
What about the Vikings? I know you've liked Kirk Cousins this season. I know Dalvin Cook's been in and out. Obviously, he's out with COVID, unless he gets out of the protocol. What do you make of the Vikings this year? Is it just a young, inexperienced defense with some dodgy play calling that's kind of cost them this year?
Oh, they're so frustrating to watch this Vikings team because they've got pieces in place. They've got a decent tight end in Tyler Conklin. They've got good wide receivers, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. They've got a good running back in Dalvin Cook, obviously. And Kirk Cousins has played very well this season. It just doesn't always seem to work all the time. And particularly late in games where they should be holding out wins, they're not doing so. And they're losing games they should be winning. That defense isn't great. And Mike Zimmer's known for his great defenses. And no, it's not quite been there this year. I'm not sure if Mike Zimmer keeps his job. If the Vikings make the playoffs, I think he will. If they don't, they might move on. This team just feels like one of those. I said yesterday about mediocre teams that are not going to win the Super Bowl. They're not going to be a top 5, top 10 pick. It's one of those averagey type teams that has got the talent to be better than they are. They're not producing it, and they're ending up being in that horrible middle of the pack place where they're not really going to benefit from that, and they're not really going to get any worse either.
The Eagles beat Washington 27-7. I think Garrett Gilbert, you called the Washington quarterback for this game.
Garrett Gilbert.
It was decent, but I Washington were never going to win that game with all the COVID issues they had. The Eagles were fresh. They were okay COVID wise. They were able to prepare. It was always a task for Washington to even travel to Philadelphia to try and win this game. It was just never going to happen.
No. This was always going to be an Eagles win. Washington went 10-0 up and kept it interesting for a while, but no.
And then the Rams beat the Seahawks 2010. But I want to get on to the Seahawks a bit later. For some reason. So let's have a look at these weekend games. Obviously, this is something we didn't talk about last night, so this is where it gets a bit interesting. So some games we'll talk about a bit more in detail, and some games we'll just go quick pick. So first of the game that's on tonight or tomorrow morning, I think you're going to be watching this. It's going to. Oh, you're not? No, not going to bother with more for fans. It's Tennessee Titans and the San Francisco 49ers. The Titans obviously very much in the playoffs at the moment. The 49ers trying to edge in. Titans need to bounce back, but they're coming up against a defense that is typically very good against the run, which obviously the Titans are struggling with right now, and they definitely could make it difficult for Ryan Tannehill. Though the 49ers are really, really inconsistent, and so is the Titans defense. So it's a game that really could go either way. Who are you giving the edge to?
The 49ers. I watched the Titans last week with the Steelers, and they just Tannehill couldn't find an accurate pass half the time. Too many turnovers. AJ Brown coming back is obviously a big boost for them, but the Niners are obviously a lot better than the Steelers are. So they're playing against a better team. The Titans aren't that good at the minute. They badly need Derrick Henry back. I think AJ Brown makes a big difference, but how healthy he is, it remains to be seen. He might be forced back now that the Colts are back in that playoff, in that AFC South hunt. So I don't know. I think the Niners are just starting to peak at the right time. And I honestly think they're just, at the minute, looking at these two rosters tonight, I think the Niners are just a slightly better team. So I think the Niners win this one.
The Packers and Browns. The Browns could be in for a very, very long day in Green Bay.
Yeah, but this is the thing is, this is so Baker Mayfield comes good sort of week, because it happens all the time to Browns. They play really badly for a couple of weeks. Everyone writes off Baker Mayfield. He has a good game, and then everyone says how wonderful he is, and then he goes and plays badly again. So we're due a Baker Mayfield good game. Is it going to be this week? Probably not. But then Tyler Huntley just had a good week against the Packers defense, so there's a good chance that the Browns do produce something and keep this game interesting for a while. But I just fancy the Packers to win this. Unless there's some COVID outbreak for the Packers, I think they'll win this game.
Packers by 3 touchdowns. Just gonna say that's straight up now. Yeah, it's gonna happen. If not, I'll sing on Monday Talks next week. The Cardinals and the Colts. This is the pretty positive fixture. Which I might generally try and watch. Not I'm going to be off work. I'm actually generally trying to watch this game if I have passed out. Controversially, I think this is where we probably will disagree. I actually think the Colts are going to edge this game over Cardinals in Arizona. The Colts are going in the right direction. I like everything they're doing. And for me, the Cardinals, I just don't see what they're trying to do on both sides of the ball. Their defense and offense was doing really well at the start. They kind of went away and they've been figured out. They've been figured out and they haven't really been able to adapt in much games. Kingsbury's in-game adjustments last week were either non-existent or just very, very bad. And I like the Colts head coach a lot. I think he's a brilliant play caller. I think he's a brilliant coach, a brilliant guy. He's got this team together. I think the Colts might edge it. Maybe by 3 points, maybe by a touchdown. I don't know. I think it's a really close game to call. I don't think one team runs away with it. I actually fancy Colts on the road, but I think you're going to disagree with me here.
No, I think the Colts win this game.
Oh, there we go. Oh my gosh, we're actually in agreement. This is Falcons and Lions. I think the Falcons will win this. I don't get wrong, the Lions have been doing all right, but the Falcons this year have actually not been that bad. I think, under Arthur Smith, they've been all right. Very inconsistent, though, on offense, especially Matt Ryan. But I think they'll beat the Lions, I think. Maybe it'll be a really low-scoring game, but I think they have enough to beat the Lions.
Just looking at who the Falcons have beaten this season. So they've beaten the Panthers. They've beaten the Jags. They've beaten the Saints. They've beaten the Dolphins when the Dolphins were really bad. They've beaten the Jets. They've beaten the Giants. Unbelievable. What an amazing team. They've beaten some fantastic teams this season. Well done.
I said
all the elite teams. They are absolutely outstanding.
I said they haven't been bad. I didn't say they were amazing.
Do you know what? Screw it. I'm going with the Lions to make it 2 in a row and win this game.
Vikings and Rams. Is the Vikings going to take an early lead and blow it in the fourth quarter, and Mark Stafford's going to throw for 2 touchdowns, or is this the type of game that you expect the Rams could slip up in? They've slipped up in these types of games in the past, so you don't just rule it out that the Vikings are going to lose this game, but because of how much the Rams slip up. But I actually don't know what's for the call. I'm going to edge the Rams by 3 points. I think they do have slightly more than the Vikings, but the Vikings could very well win this game because the Rams don't turn up in these sort of games sometimes.
If Dalvin Cook is not, if Dalvin Cook's not playing, I got to side with the Rams. But if he was, I also have gone with the Vikings. The Vikings have beaten the Packers in Minnesota, so yeah, anything is possible with this team. They tend to lose to bad teams and beat some good ones. So I wouldn't rule the Vikings out in this game. I just don't think without Dalvin Cook, they've quite got enough talent to win this game. So I think the LA Rams come away with the W.
Jets, Jags. Both teams. Well, the Jets are out there. Head coach Robert Saleh, he's on the COVID-19 protocol. Though he could test out of it if possible. The Jags. They're not going to have the head coach until the next season.
Good luck predicting this one.
I was going to say Jets. They were okay against the Dolphins. They started the game really well. First half they were good. Though the Dolphins just became too good for them. At least the Jets are moving in some sort of right direction, while the Jags have just completely a 5-year plan went to a 14-week plan. Now they've got a coach in charge who probably doesn't have a clue what he's doing, and he won't be there next season. The Jags are going to win it. It's just going to be a game that I have absolutely zero interest in watching.
It's an absolute classic between the two worst teams in the league. I can't wait to watch this fantastic thriller. Thankfully, the Steelers are the later game, so if I wanted to, I could watch this rubbish, but I don't think I will. I'm going to actually disagree with you. I'm going to be an idiot here and back the Jags to win this game.
I guess that keeps it interesting in an uninteresting game. Eagles and Giants. Eagles in Philadelphia should win this game against a Giants team who are generally just awful.
I think we're going to see a Freddie Kitchens masterclass on the Giants to only lose this game by about 14.
Only right. So Patriots and Bills. Will Belichick get revenge in New England against the Buffalo Bills? Sorry, change of plans. Will Josh Allen get revenge on Bill Belichick in New England? Sorry, I'm literally half asleep here. But no, I think New England's going to bounce back. It's in New England. It's a big game for New England against the Buffalo Bills team that are struggling. I think Belichick's going to kick the ass. I remember he was doing this classic. He was down on one knee speaking to the defense last week, which is a classic Belichick in a nutshell. They'll bounce back. There's no way they lose 2 games in a row in a manner like they did last week. I think this is going to Patriots win all over it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Patriots win this game. I wouldn't rule Buffalo out. I think this is going to be a very exciting game to watch. I think it's the 6 p.m. Sky game. There's some great games at 6 p.m. this week. This is one of them. I fancy Mac Jones to throw the ball more than 3 times this time, I think. Just a guess. Maybe 4 or 5. But yeah, I think the Bills are probably the more talented team. But the Patriots are the better coached team, and it's in Foxborough. I do fancy the Patriots to win this game.
I'm going to come back to the Ravens game because how big that game is and the issues that the Ravens are facing. So I will come back to that game. Texans, Chargers. Surely the Chargers don't screw this up.
They could, but they won't. Chargers to win this.
The Panthers and Bucs. Going to win this game. If Cam Newton against Tom Brady, yeah, only one person's winning that.
As I say, the Bucs have got 3 very easy games remaining, so 2 of them are with the Panthers. They'll win both of those games. They're going to win this game easily.
Seahawks, Bears. You've got the out of date rubbish away underperforming Seahawks against probably the worst coach, or maybe at least one of the worst coach teams in the NFL. Pete Carroll against Matt Nagy, 2 coaches who are gotten from this as well. Pete Carroll may actually stay. Matt Nagy is good as gone, but these are 2 coaches who are just not good, or one's not suited to their team anymore, and one's just not a good coach in general. But Russell Wilson in Seattle, they should win this game, surely.
Seahawks should win this game, but they're both pretty awful. Yeah, I can't go with the Bears. Not after Monday night. I think the Seahawks win it, but it's going to be an ugly game to watch. I will not be watching this rubbish.
To talk about the Seattle Seahawks, there's a lot of question marks. Sean Walton, the new offensive coordinator, came in, question marks over him. Will Pete Carroll be fired, or will he just, kind of say that's it, I'm retiring? There's talk Russell Wilson wanted to be traded in the offseason. Last offseason, could, he finally pushed the button and want to be traded. And the thing is about the Seahawks, they put all their eggs in one basket for the Jamal Adams trade, which I don't really think has probably been worth all the worth that value that they put in for that deal, and especially all the money that they're currently paying him. They've got DK Metcalf who they need to extend, though does he still want to be extended after he's not really been targeted really at all this season under Sean Wheaton's offensive scheme. The Seahawks are in a mess, aren't they? And even their general manager, John Schuyler, he's done a fantastic job. Even there's question marks over him if he'll be there. The Seahawks are generally facing the fact of losing one of their star rookie, not rookie, but one of their star young wide receiver, Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll. He's been with them for years. There's so much uncertainty about the Seahawks going into the offseason that it's a team that could either, could be one of those mediocre teams there where they keep the same roster, they might keep Pete Carroll for another year and not really go anywhere. or they could lose Pete Carroll, they could lose Russell Wilson, and try and trade and try and get trade picks back up. It's the Seahawks. Like, what do you make of it? There's so much uncertainty about them, isn't there? For a team that does have so much talent on their roster at the moment.
Does it though? That's the question. They've got. I don't rate DK Metcalf. He's a talent, very, very talented player, but his attitude is atrocious, and that's not going to get you very far in the NFL. He looks completely disinterested in most of the games he's played in this season. I've watched a lot of Seattle. I have a bit of a soft spot for the Seahawks, so I've watched a lot of their games this year. Their offensive line is just terrible. Russell Wilson's not as good as people think he is at the minute. He's holding the ball far too long, and when he's throwing it, it's mostly inaccurate. Their run game is pretty much permanently on injured reserve. Their defense is not great. They've got some talented players on their defense. Quandre Diggs, forgotten Carlos Dunlap, Bobby Wagner. But for every good player they've got on their defense, they've got a couple of really bad ones. Jamal Adams has played okay, but he's definitely not worth what the Seahawks paid him or paid for him. I think this team just needs to clear house in the offseason, move Russell Wilson on, get some first round picks for him, because they need to start again. And at the moment, they're going to be a top 10 pick team without a top 10 pick, because it's the Jets who've got that. So I think they're going to have to move on from Russell Wilson. Pete Carroll will resign or retire, but the truth is that he'll be forced out of the team, because they need to start again with somebody a bit younger, somebody with some fresher ideas, and it's going to be a 3 or 4 year rebuild job there. I have a feeling in Seattle. This team's just going nowhere, and it needs to press a big red button in the middle that says reboot, and then go ding, and then they can start.
That's perfectly said. Lost the LA Raiders and Denver again. I don't think a game that you're particularly too worried about missing.
No, I don't think either of these teams are going to trouble the playoffs. They're sort of in the hunt, but whether they'll have to win out to get into the playoffs. I don't think either of these teams do. It looks like Drew Lock's going to start for Denver, so I'll probably back the Raiders, but this is going to be an ugly, ugly game.
So what about you? What about you going to Arrowhead against a Chiefs team that currently has a lot of issues on the COVID-19 list?
Oh dear. Yeah, we're not winning this game. It doesn't matter that Kelsey and Hill are on the COVID list. I expect one of them to be back at least on Sunday, and they only need one of them. As long as CEH is fit and Creed Humphrey in their O-line is okay, they'll run all over us. Patrick Mahomes will only need 1 or 2 good moments to throw it to somebody like Byron Pringle or DeMarcus Robinson, and they'll be fine. I don't see us going into Arrowhead and winning, to be honest. But you never know. The season's on the line for us, so we're going to have to go in there and try and win the game. But we're just so ugly, and we start so slow that against a team like the Chiefs, you can't afford to start slow. If you do, and you end up 10, 14 points behind, you're not coming back and winning. So I think the Chiefs win this game.
Cowboys, Washington. Cowboys should win us the game easily enough, shouldn't they?
Yeah. Heineke's back. He's off the COVID list, but it shouldn't matter. The Cowboys are just a better team. They'll win this game relatively easily.
And then the Saints versus the Dolphins, but the Saints are going to be starting a 4th round first choice rookie, because Trevor Seaman and Taysom Hill both on the COVID-19 reserve list. Obviously, they could test out of the protocol, but chances are quite unlikely. You fancy the Dolphins, surely, because against a rookie quarterback, you're talking about a guy who was a defensive coordinator under Bill Belichick, and he's got this Dolphins team 6 on the bounce now, I think it is, for them.
Yeah,
it's hard not to see the Saints. It's hard to see how the Dolphins don't get a win on the road.
I think the Saints win this game.
Oh,
Ian Book from Notre Dame. He was a very solid quarterback in college football. He's not going to pull up any trees. He's not going to be outstanding, but he's a solid quarterback, and I expect him to be fine. They've still got Alvin Kamara, and whilst the Saints have got Alvin Kamara fit, they can win this sort of game. And Tua's going to have to struggle against this Saints defense. That's some very interesting breaking news. I did not expect to see that. I thought he'd be gone for the season. The Rams have designated Cam Akers for return.
Oh,
that is very, very big news if indeed he does come back before the playoffs, because the Rams have been missing that run game, and with him back in, they are a Super Bowl team. So that is big news. But back on this game, you say the Saints are going to struggle against the Dolphins defense. Tua could very well struggle against this Saints defense. I mean, they have just shut out Tom Brady. So, I think the Saints win this game.
All right, then. Fair enough. So let's talk about the game, but probably maybe of the weekend terms of it is the 8-6 Bengals taking on the 8-6 Baltimore Ravens. The Bengals, I believe, are winning the division currently on head-to-head after beating Baltimore earlier on in the season. Now, the Ravens have been hit massively by COVID. Now, at the current moment, I'm assuming there will be roster adjustments, and there has been people already signed to the practice squad. But the Ravens currently only have 15 players healthy on defense. After all the COVID issues and the injuries, there's only 15 eligible general players that are fit on the defense. Lamar Jackson, once again, is not practicing, and I can't see how he's going to be thrown in. There is saying that he may be in practice Friday and Saturday, but I can't see it. I think it is going to be Tyler Huntley. Though Tyler Huntley has been playing very well, but going on the road to Cincinnati in a must-win game, and then you look at the Ravens who are going to be struggling at a corner again. Some players may not be fit. It's a situation you look at this, but then the Bengals have been so inconsistent, and could they step up and win this game in such big circumstances? I hate to say it, but the game for me just slightly goes in the Bengals' favor, because the Ravens' injuries are just beyond the joke, and well, injuries and the COVID combined, it just makes it a terrible look for Ravens. And then maybe I feel like this might be the game where Tyler Huntley shows the fact that he is an undrafted quarterback who is decent. He's done a fantastic job. I think his performance against the Green Bay Packers was great, but I think the Bengals are going to win it. I hate to say it, but they are against the Ravens in so many ways.
Yeah, I agree. I think realistically for the Steelers, we want the Ravens to win this game. I think the Bengals win it though. I don't know if the Ravens go into the jungle and have got enough without all these injuries to go and pull that off. But the Bengals are very inconsistent. One week they look like a Super Bowl team. The next week they look like the first overall pick. It's a really hard one to call this, because it's a divisional game. Anything can happen. And if do you know what? I'm going to be brave here. I'm going to say the Ravens go on the road and win this game. I think Tyler Huntley plays as well as he did last week. It's a bold call, but I'm going with the Ravens to win this game.
If that does happen, I will probably generally, no word of a lie, probably dance down my street butt naked and just celebrate if we somehow win it.
It won't matter for your season though, because you're going to lose to the Rams and then you're going to lose to the Steelers. So your season's going to be over anyway. But we're not
going to lose. I don't think we'll lose to you in the final week. And we will be healthier for the Rams, because Campbell will be back, Lamar Jackson probably will be back, or most of our offensive line will be back, even though they're quite shit in general. Middle linebackers will be back. We'll have Deshaun Elliott back, Chuck Clark back, Tony Jefferson, who was signed back, will be more up to scratch again. So I'm worried about Ram. I don't know who the Ravens. There's going to be so many. There's so many question marks. What players can test negative and get out of the protocol? If not, then who did the Ravens bring in for a one-off game? It's just I hate to say it, but the odds are just against them. This is a game where Tyler Huntley cannot win games by himself. He's just not that good enough to do it. He's not Lamar Jackson where he can carry the team on his back. And yeah, I think the Bengals are going to win. I hate to say it. I don't know if that means if the Ravens are going to be, actually, if I'm not mistaken, I don't even think the Ravens are in playoff contention at the moment. I'm pretty sure they're out of the wild card.
Yeah, they're the eighth seed at the minute. Yeah, so they're just
I said at the start of the season. I know I wasn't on Monday Talks at the time, so I can't go clip it. But when the Ravens had all of the injuries in training camp, in the NFL, especially in a COVID NFL, you're always going to pick up more injuries. And then you've had the summer come along. In fact, lots of teams around the NFL, and not just Baltimore. I think Baltimore are probably the least affected compared to some teams like Washington and the Browns. But the injury, especially the injuries, were always going to come back. And then Marlon Humphrey got injured for the rest of the year. Deshaun Elliott got injured for the rest of the year. And you're bringing in these rookies and these third and fourth round corners and stuff. It's ugly. And if we do go to Cincinnati and win the game, if we win it incredibly ugly, with a bunch of backups or a bunch of practice squad guys and whatever else, I'll not complain. But yeah, I think the Cincinnati could win this division. Did you, if that's the case, Cincinnati do win the division, get into the playoffs? Did you have in your head think this was a possibility, or have they way overachieved to what you thought they would do?
I don't know. They're doing well. I think the problem is that our division hasn't quite been as good as we thought they'd be. The Browns have not been that great. The Steelers have been about what I expected them to be, a bit clunky, but they'll win games. And the Ravens have had a lot of injuries. The Bengals have taken advantage of that. They smashed the Steelers twice. They've beaten the Ravens. The thing is, I've said many times, I'm an LSU fan. So I've seen the amount of times I've seen Burrow and Chase smash it up together is many, many. So I know what they're capable of. I knew they were going to be a threat. I think the one thing none of us expected was the Bengals defense to actually have some sort of ability. But they've been really good. Mike Hilton's played well. Trey Hendrickson has made a big impact on that defensive line. And the Bengals in general are just competitive. Are they great? Are they going to do anything in the playoffs this year? Probably not. I don't think any of the AFC North teams are going to really do anything in the playoffs if they make them. But if I had to say right now who I thought the one team in the AFC North who I think will make the playoffs, I would say the Bengals win this division. But I think it's going to be quite close. I wouldn't rule the Steelers out yet because I think they beat the Browns next week, and I think they go into Baltimore and beat them. Sorry, Josh.
Typical, absolutely bloody typical. So before we round things up, as I said, this is the last episode before Christmas. I want to ask you some these are just kind of questions for the whole NFL, just to make things slightly interesting. So I guess I just seen the Ravens that's going to kind of make us for a return. You see, look at you retweeting during the show, you're multitasking. Special, I don't know what to call it. Anyway, so first of all, let's go for who your at this current moment MVP is.
Aaron Rodgers. I think he wins it back to back.
I agree. I've said the Packers for the Super Bowl. I'm just saying. I stick to my guns. I think the Packers, generally, if the way they're playing at the moment, might make it all the way. What your most underrated team so far this year?
Underrated. Probably the Colts.
Damn it, you took my one. I should have said it first, for fuck's sake. That's what I was going to say.
They sit 8-6, but they had a horrible start to the season where they played all these good teams and ultimately had an unfit Carson Wentz. Since Wentz has been healthy and JT's been firing on all cylinders, the Colts have been really good. So, yeah, I think the Colts are the most underrated team in the league.
Who would my underrated team be?
Oh, you know you want to say the Jags.
I was tempted to say the Falcons. um, under most underrated. See, you took my one. I'm going to go. I'm gonna be really controversial. I don't want to say the same thing as you because I want to try and keep things interesting. So I'm gonna throw a weird one in. I'm actually gonna say the Eagles. I think the Eagles have actually been quite decent this year. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is the right quarterback for Philadelphia, but I like what the head coach is doing. His first year as a head coach. I think I like what he's doing. I like the scheming. I like some of the things they've been doing on offense and defense. Yes, they're 7-7, but they don't have a great roster. It's nowhere near the roster they had a few years ago under Doug Peterson. But I like what they're doing. They're going in the right direction. And I don't know. I don't know, but do you think Jalen Hurts is the right quarterback for the Eagles?
It's hard to say. He's a bit like Tyler Huntley in many ways. He's good on his feet and can throw occasionally, but he's not all that accurate. I say give him another year. But the Eagles have got 3 first-round picks next year because they've got their pick, they've got Miami's pick, and they've got Indianapolis's pick for Carson Wentz. So they've got 3 first-rounders. So there's every chance they go for a quarterback or even trade for one. So I don't know if Jalen Hurts is the starter. I personally would build around him and keep him for another year, but that's up for Nick Sirianni to decide.
The worst coach in the NFL season, Urban Meyers. I think, no doubt, Urban Meyers generally just awful, generally awful.
I'm going to say Mike Zimmer. I wanted to say Matt Nagy, but Mike Zimmer's done nothing with a lot of talent for a couple of years now. So I think he's probably one of the worst coaches at the minute in the league, and the guy who I think should be fired at the end of the season.
No, here's one that might really make your head think. The best moment or play that you've seen so far during the regular season. The one thing that you've looked at and gone, holy shit, wow.
Big Ben making a positive play. Let's think about this. Most that made me go, wow. There's been a few. I don't think there's been any real moments where I've suddenly shot out of my chair and gone, holy moly, what a fantastic play. I don't know, really. Probably it might even be from Tuesday night's game. If you saw the interception in the one that hit the back of Dallas Goedert's foot,
yes.
Flicked up and got intercepted. That was probably the moment I thought, bloody hell, how the hell did that happen? I can't really think of anything else, so I'll go with that.
I'm going to go with an obvious one. It is Justin Tucker's 67-yard field goal because I remember we played probably the worst game I played all year against the Lions, and just everything was just terrible on both sides of the ball. And I actually remember Justin Tucker came on. I remember it was our final drive and that we didn't really go anywhere with it. I remember Justin Tucker was coming on and I was thinking, oh, automatic Tucker. And it came up on my screen, 67-yard field goal. And I'm thinking, nah, this is not happening. And then next minute, I remember as Tucker kicked the ball was going, it was going right in between the uprights. And then I just remember it hit off the lower bar. Bounced in. I seen the 2 officials go for a second, and I went fucking berserk. I was up screaming, and to the point where my mum texted me saying, "I'm trying to sleep. Shut up." It was incredible. As I said, there probably is better moments than that, but it was just in terms of my reaction and how I took it. It was absolutely. It was incredible. From the best to the worst, what's the worst NFL game you've seen this season? It probably would be the Bears game in primetime.
Oh my word! There's a lot of choices. The worst one it's got to be the Lions Steelers game. That's the worst game I've ever seen. It was just tragic. Mason Rudolph and Jared Goff, neither of them could throw a pass to save their lives. Jared Goff actually managed to play worse than Mason Rudolph. That tells you how bad this game was. Absolutely atrocious. A tie was the only result it could possibly be because both teams were so awful they did not deserve the win.
Yeah, that is the worst game I've seen all year. And I've watched some really bad football this season.
And then the final question is, so I've always wondered this, and I love once you hear my reason, you'll laugh. But so how did you get into the NFL? How long have you been watching the NFL? And how did you get into it? And how did Pittsburgh become your team of choice?
Well, the first game I ever followed was the Super Bowl in the Superdome, which the Ravens fluked to a win with Mr. Flacco. Since then,
those the two Harbour cousins, two Harbour brothers going on, wasn't it?
It was the one with the power cut as well in the Superdome. That's the one. And then the following season, the Steelers played in London against the Vikings, and I remember following that game from home. And ever since, it was just the Steelers ended up being my team. I think the thing with the Steelers is it's an old steel city. Obviously, the British here in the UK, we're known for our British steel. So it was sort of a city that I felt was more resonated with the UK. I'm not a big city person. I don't like the places like New York or LA or Las Vegas, or I know they weren't in the league then, but those big cities, I'm not a big city person. I live in the middle of nowhere. So I wanted somewhere with a big loyal fan base, but not a massive market, and the Steelers just fitted that. I don't know really why I didn't go for the Green Bay Packers, because that would have made more sense, but the Steelers is what it is, and I've backed them ever since, and we've had some good times with the Killer Bees and some not so good times watching Mason Rudolph play for a year.
Do you have Amazon Prime?
I do not.
Oh, so it's just I wonder if you watched any of the All or Nothings on Amazon Prime when you see when you go into the training camp. So, but if you ever do Amazon Prime, I do recommend watching them. There's some really old ones like Jeff Fisher's Los Angeles Rams, Jared Goff's first every year. My God, he was a bad coach, Jeff Fisher. When you see the behind the scenes stuff, and it's awful. Like I actually think I might be able to share if I can, I'll try to, because I think it'd be really interesting to watch it. I think you also see Ron Rivera's Panthers when they went on that. I think they got to the Super Bowl with Cam Newton. I think that's also one. I think that's one on there. And then you also have the Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl on too. I think Bruce. When Bruce Arians was the head coach of the Cardinals as well. I can't remember who their quarterback was at the time, but that's the first season. And then you get to see Jason Garrett's Cowboys as well. So plenty of terrible coaching, and you get to see all the behind the scenes stuff. It's absolutely brilliant. Of me, my friend Luke, he's a massive Seattle Seahawks fan, and he really wanted me to start supporting. He was really wanting me to start supporting. He wanted me to start watching the NFL, but I always said I didn't like the NFL because it was stop and start, and I found the rules far too complicated and all of that stuff. But then he got me to download Madden on the Xbox to do an online franchise with him, and he was the Seahawks, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. And I learned the rules of the NFL, and I originally started watching the Eagles a lot. I learned a lot about the Eagles, and the first game I ever watched was between the Eagles and the Seahawks in the wild card. I think 2 years ago when both teams were absolutely hit by injuries, it was the injury ball rather than the wild card game. It was actually not a right game too. I think the Seahawks won it against Philadelphia.
Josh McCown, the quarterback for the Eagles.
Yeah. That's the one, yeah. Oh yeah, the pension. He was like 40 years old, wasn't he? He was old as Brady at the time. And then I kind of drifted away from it because I said that was during the wild card. So then things kind of died a bit, and then as the next season started coming, which I think was Lamar Jackson's first full season as a starter. I started playing Madden with the Baltimore Ravens, and I seen how broke Lamar Jackson's pace was, just scrambling around. I remember Mark Andrews. I loved Mark Andrews at the time, and obviously that became to find out that he actually is one of the best tight ends in the league. And ever since then, I've started watching the NFL. I've been buying the Game Pass. I've been watching shows and do podcasts now, and it was all free Madden. It was all free Madden, just picking Baltimore for an online franchise, and ever since I took heart to them and I've watched them ever since. And I said this has been a long, exhausting season, and we can't even feel the defense. against the bloody Bengals. But yeah, that's. Have you ever played Madden? Or I don't play it as much anymore. I don't think it's a great game, even on the new gen. A big fan of it. I have to say,
I play Madden Mobile occasionally, but in terms of Madden itself, it's. I used to play it quite a lot, sort of 2014, 2015, but it's EA and their sports games, they never seem to get any better. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this college football game coming out in a couple of years' time. But no, I'm not that interested in Madden really.
This other thing I do want to ask you is, I don't watch any college football whatsoever. I know college football to a certain extent works differently to the NFL. I know it's like less physical and the rules and the calling's different at all. So the two questions I want to ask you. The first one is about college football. Do you recommend I give it a watch? Maybe because obviously as a John Harbaugh, I love John Harbaugh. Like even though I wasn't a Ravens supporter when we won the Super Bowl, I went back and this is the thing I love about the Game Pass. I went back and watched the whole year of the year we won the Super Bowl, all the regular season games, all the playoffs, and the Super Bowl itself against obviously Jim Harbaugh. So maybe I could support Jim Harbaugh. I think he won college head coach of the year, if I'm not mistaken. I think, and with Michigan, there's also a thing on Amazon with Michigan and all behind the scenes and seeing how Jim Harbaugh does his coaching behind it. So, do you say that I should give college football a little go?
A million percent. College football is unbelievable. The thing you'll take from it is just how big it is. In many respects, college football is a bigger event than the NFL is. Just pick a couple of games, watch a couple of games, and you'll see what it's like. The standard can be a bit flippy floppy, but if you find two relatively evenly matched teams in one of the big stadiums, so somewhere like Tiger Stadium in LSU, Michigan, for example, one of these big grounds with 100,000 people in it, it's unbelievable. It's something that whenever I go out to the States, and I hope to at some point, I will definitely want to take in a couple of college games because they are just mad to look at from afar, let alone what they're like in person. 100%. Get into it because it is. And I know a lot of people in the UK, a few people I know actually love college football even more than the NFL. So, yeah, it's definitely something that even if it's not your cup of tea after looking at it, you've got to have a look first because it is just mad.
And then the final question is, it's just about a lot of references that NFL players were making, all defensive NFL players were making, saying they think it's incredibly difficult to play defense these days because of the amount of flags that get thrown on them. Do you agree that the rules are making it hard for defenses to play their game because they're getting for unnecessary contact or pass interception or unnecessary roughs or unsportsmanlike conduct, or the list goes on with the flags in the NFL, and it only gets more and more every year, especially if the taunting penalty that they introduce. Do you think defenses maybe need to be given a bit more credit? Quarterbacks get touched and it's rolling for roughing the passer. Do you think defenses need to be given a bit more freedom?
Well, it's a tough one because safety is the most important thing in the league. It's fundamental, and you see so many injuries all the time in the NFL because it is a dangerous sport. But I can understand most of the rules that the NFL imply, trying not to hurt the head. And there's also now debates over lower injuries, so below the knee, because there are a lot of knee injuries nowadays. So I can understand why there's a lot of protection over players. But at the same time, there's also a lot of rules that they've thrown in that are to make the games more interesting and more offensive-minded, so you see more offensive games. Although, as I've seen this season, that isn't always the case. You don't always see good offensive football, and defenses can still thrive. I mean, the Steelers, not so much this year with their run defense, but their pass defense is still very good, and they're still winning games. It's the same with the Buccaneers. They've got a good defense that wins them games. There's teams that have these defenses that come through and win games, and they still make an impact. It's not as much of an impact as it used to be. The game's very different to what it used to be. I think NFL is slightly overprotective on quarterbacks. Some of the roughing the passer calls have been absolutely ridiculous. You can't even touch some of these quarterbacks without it being called, unless you're called Big Ben, which you can full bloody blow into Big Ben and nothing will ever get called because he's Big Ben. I think he's probably the most targeted player in the league and yet never gets called. But that's life. I'm not going to get too upset because the Steelers did get handed a win against the Bears by incompetent referees, so I can't say too much. But yeah, it's a tough one from an NFL standpoint because I understand why they're trying to make it as safe as possible, but the defense is definitely more hampered on this than the offense is.
I think it's perfectly said. And for my final thing, I'm going to say it's quote of the year. Wink Martindale, the Ravens defensive coordinator, when he's getting asked about the Ravens situation, he says, "I don't know if I'm playing NFL football or the bloody Squid Games." I think that's a brilliant quote because he's generally the guy, the poor man. He's obviously responsible for the whole defense and the scheme and all. He can't. I feel like how can you game plan and scheme when you're literally you're going to have to put different defenses out every single fucking week. I credit to him. I think he's a great offensive coordinator, and he's heavily favourite to take over the Jacksonville Jaguars in the offseason. The Jags desperately want them. I hope they don't get him, but. So time will tell. I know a lot of Jags fans are using offensive mind to help with Trevor Lawrence rather than a defensive minded like Martindale, but that's time will tell. So that brings the end to tonight's show. Obviously, when we next speak will be after Christmas. There'll be a fair few Boxing Day fixtures. There's a fair few Christmas Day, two Christmas Day fixtures. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I've actually given it a name, the Big Fourth Down Podcast. I don't know if that's going to stay or not. That's kind of just when I drafted up, kind of as I was making this video, kind of popped into my mind. It's like, we'll see how it goes. I'll see if it sounds right as we go on. I'll change it if needs be. But any exciting plans for Christmas?
Not really. At home with the family, so that'll be nice. But no, nothing really exciting planned. Other than watching lots of sport, as I always do over Christmas, unless it's all cancelled due to COVID. That's the.
I know too. I know Liverpool, Leeds, and Wolves, and I can't remember Wolves and Watford being postponed with COVID. Is your game still in the? Is your game still okay at the moment?
Six games off in the Championship and 6 off in League One, and I think about 8 in League Two. So, but our game at Cheltenham on Sunday is still just about good to go, I think. But I won't be I don't do Boxing Day games, so I won't be at Modern Road. But I'm hoping of all hopes that we don't end up in some sort of lockdown because I've got a good away day planned at Birmingham in the FA Cup coming in.
Well, there was actually some good news there that because of the news that came out today about the Omicron variant being less severe, there were some big reliable reports that Boris Johnson is now looking at he's going to scrap the plan to go into a circuit breaker. Now knowing that the new variant doesn't hospitalise people, so he doesn't see any obviously lockdown. Which you look at Scotland and Wales, like for example, Wales, they're behind closed doors now. There's no fans allowed permanently. Scotland's down to 500, where the Scottish League have had to bring the winter break forward to try and. I think Northern Ireland and England have said we're going to wait. Wales and Scotland have jumped at the gun, but that's all politics. I said we won't get into that, but hopefully Northern Ireland and England. I said Northern Ireland are shutting that club, which I actually am okay with. I'm not particularly a party in person anyway, so I kind of hope that these restrictions don't take place. But I will be at my Boxing Day fixture on the Monday. We don't play Sunday games over here in Northern Ireland for lots of different reasons. There are Boxing Day games on the Monday, and against Portadown, massive rivalry. First game, derby game I'll be to as a Glenavon supporter. Can't bloody wait. It's gonna be fantastic. So Freddy, thank you very much for calling. If you're interested in following Freddy's Twitter, all his stuff is in the description to see if I'm saying it, because he just has to see him week in, week out. Freddy, I wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Please do like the video. Share it out, and me and him will be back next Thursday to discuss more things NFL. As I think I made a mistake last time. It's 2 more weeks until the playoffs after each week's of fixtures. I made a mistake last week. This time I've made sure I did my last. So, will the Ravens be top of the AFC North, or will the Ravens even struggle to get into a wild card spot? We'll talk about that next week. So everyone, thank you very much.
Come on, the Steelers.
Boo. Everybody, thank you very much for watching. Merry Christmas, and we will see you again next Thursday. Hope you get what you want. Don't eat too much turkey, and try not to drink too much. And I know what I'll be doing. I'll be sleeping because I've got work in like 5 hours. So one more 7 until 12 days off. See you later, guys. Thank you very much.
Why do you let us hurt one another just for the dollar? Did you lose your heart in the darkness deep in your pocket? No, I don't care of the price I pay.